What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Gametime Voice YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mike Walsh, and I thank you for joining me here for episode 8 of the Gametime Voice Report. On today's episode, we're going to take a look back at the ups and downs, the lefts and rights, and everything in between of the Patriots game against the Pittsburgh Steelers this past Sunday. We'll also get you prepared for the start of the 2025 Ryder Cup tomorrow at Bethpage Black. And for those of you who have never experienced an event like this in golf and this is a first time viewer, we'll explain to you how it all works, what you can expect, and how much fun really this is going to be. And for our wackiest of the week, we're going to head to Philadelphia for a blocked field goal to end the game for the Eagles that led to a win that affected their record, the record of their opponent, the Rams, and the record of some people in Las Vegas, if you know what I mean. All that and much, much more. So buckle those chin straps, lace up those skates. This is episode 8 of the Game Time Voice Report. We're going to start today's episode with, oh boy, we're going to start today's episode talking about the Patriots and that game in Foxborough against Steelers. And oh man, first of all, if you haven't done so already, go and check out my live stream commentary for that game. But where could I possibly begin with this game that saw Patriots fans both excited about the future and then frustrated about the present, all within a matter of a couple hours? Could I talk about the defense that has shown an ability to get to the passer that we haven't seen very much a whole lot in previous years, or their linebackers being very good to get to the ball and tackling, but it seems like nobody, with the absence of Christian Gonzalez, is able to cover a wide receiver. We could talk about Drake May, who faced off against one of his idols at quarterback in Aaron Rodgers and showed flashes of brilliance with great touchdown passes and the ability to use his legs, but is still turnover prone with a bad interception to end the half and a fumble late in the game. And we'll get to that in a second. Could we talk about the fact that the Patriots have some very promising wide receivers, but yet for some reason won't pass the ball when it need conversions or touchdowns or anything else to the guy right here who they paid $64 million for? But let's start with the man in the red sweatshirt here, picture with Coach Mike Tomlin. That's Coach Mike Vrabel, who people said when Vrabel came in, he was going to establish discipline. He was going to turn this around for a locker room that was in dysfunction under 1 year of head coach Gerard Mayo. Well, through 3 weeks, it's gotten worse. And I know for some of you have been like, how could it possibly have gotten worse? How could it have gotten worse? Vrabel has already had a head coaching job. He did a great job in Tennessee. How could he be making it worse? One stat. One stat can prove that point. Through 3 games under Gerard Mayo, the Patriots had 13 penalties under Gerard Mayo in his first 3 games. For Mike Vrabel, his first 3 games, the Patriots have 27 penalties. You preach about discipline, but yet for some reason your team has gone worse in terms of the yellow flag. And then there's the worst part about Sunday's game, where it said you cannot, I don't care where you are, at what level, or anything else, you cannot win a NFL football game, let alone a Pee Wee football game, if you turn the ball over 5 times. Now, I mentioned the fumble and the interception that Drake May accounted for 2 of those turnovers, but let's get to the bad ones. 2 fumbles by this man, Ramondre Stevenson. He has 2 this year through 3 games. He led the NFL with 7 all of last year, and he's almost halfway there through 3 games. Chalk that up with another one by Antonio Gibson, so your veterans can't hold on to football. So then you thrust first year player Travion Henderson into a role that maybe he's not comfortable with, and it just gets progressively worse. But then I want to get to the worst moment of all this past Sunday that really, really draw my eye, and you'll see it at the live stream. I love what the offense has done so far in terms of being able to spread it around to multiple wide receivers. You have Kayshon Boutte, who's built a really good repertoire with Drake May. You have Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, 2 really solid tight ends. You have Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson, who, despite all their flaws and inability to hold on to the ball, have been really good pass catchers out of the backfield. You also have Stephon Diggs, who signed, like I mentioned, for a chunk load of money and has shown improvement in each game and should be getting the ball in the biggest of situations. But no, Drake May, for some reason, seems fixated on this idea that I got to get Pop Douglas the ball. Pop Douglas has been one of our most explosive wide receivers last year. Well, guess what? This isn't last year. You have overthrown him multiple times, both in the preseason and in the regular season. And with the game on the line, you, I understand, had pressure. You wanted to get the ball out quick. You got it to Pop Douglas, who had the ability to gain extra yards. Okay, I'm not blaming that on you, Drake May. So I'll look at you, Pop Douglas. Why do you catch it when you need a fourth down conversion? You catch it, and then in order to get the first down, your first instinct is to go backwards. This is the last I'm going to say it because this game really did my head in. It got me frustrated because this team is the fourth youngest in the NFL. Okay, I get it. They're young, but you are now in your third year of a rebuild. You are now supposed to be showing signs of improvement, and they have, but they've also shown signs of regression. And I just, for the life of me, can't figure it out why. Sunday, you have a game against the one of the worst teams in the NFL to get yourself back on track and get yourself to 2-2, which we've seen in previous years for Patriots teams. That is the record that allows them to springboard to allow their season to take off. This is a newsflash to every single one of of these players. Fix it and fix it now, or your season could end up like it did in the last few years, ending in a tailspin. All right, now to head on something a little bit more positive, a little bit more enduring, shall we say. On this coming Friday, which when this video goes out, I'm currently recording this on a Wednesday, but when this video goes out on Thursday, will be one day before the 2025 Ryder Cup. Now, for those of my viewers who don't know what a Ryder Cup is about, let me explain how this works. Friday and Saturday, we have what is called foursomes, where the USA will be taking on Europe in a team event in golf, which happens every 2 years. Every 2 years, they will alternate between a European home course and a USA home course. This year, it's USA chose the home course, and they chose Bethpage Black, one of the hardest courses in the world, and is in New York for this event. The Europeans will be captained by former player and current captain who's been his second time in charge of the European team, Luke Donald. And the USA team will be captained by a local boy who grew up in Vermont and Massachusetts, Keegan Bradley, who also went to school at St. John's in New York and has a good repertoire with this course. Now, Luke Donald has already won a Ryder Cup. He won the last one 2 years ago in Rome on the 2023 Ryder Cup, which was a demolishing of the U.S. team, and has been looking forward at the challenge of trying to become one of the few away Ryder Cup teams to win on the away course. That hasn't happened in a while, really, since the Ryder Cup European team of 2014 won on American soil. While Keegan Bradley is looking to return the favor from last year, where the US team was demolished and he was left off the Ryder Cup team as a player, but is looking to get the Ryder Cup back home with his knowledge of course and good repertoire with the players he's brought in. Now, for those of you who are avid golf fans and have watched the PGA Tour or the Live Golf Tour, you know that there's a certain level of respect. And that's the case in the Ryder Cup, too. These players, will be respectful. They'll take care of each other for both teams going forward as they play. But what makes the Ryder Cup different is now you are rooting for a miss or a make more so than you would on a regular PGA Tour event. Now, this doesn't mean that you can be talking in someone's backswing or shouting things at players as they're about to make putts or anything else like that. There's still that level of sportsmanship and respect. But the terms of making noise, cheering, and booing and everything else for other players, it heightens up the excitement of golf to another stratosphere. Like at a regular PGA Tour event, you won't see fans like this decked out in red, white, and blue or decked out in the gold and blue of the European team as well. It's the ultimate fan event of golf and the most anticipated sometimes event every 2 years of the golf season. So much so that it attracts all sorts of celebrities. We've seen Michael Jordan show up. We've seen Stephen Curry show up. We've seen all sorts of people. Even Ken Griffey Jr., the great baseball player who's had a second career, so to speak, as a photographer, could show up to this event and take pictures of his own. Now, the format is as follows. On Friday and Saturday, there will be two sessions of four matches each, where two players from the United States and two players from the European team will face off in what are known as foursome matches. In the morning, they will be known as foursomes, and it will be alternate shot. So, a US player and a European player will tee off and play a single ball. Wherever that tee shot goes, their teammate will then have to play that ball from that spot and they will alternate playing their shots. This will go until a team wins as many holes as possible. A reminder, this is not stroke play where you're like +1 to -1 or anything else. It could be up 2 to 3 shots on your opponent. No, it is match play. What that means is that you have the best score, you win a hole, you are a hole up. You win the next one, you are two up. The other team wins a hole, now they're back down to one down. They can bring it up to even. Also, if you have more holes up than are holes left, the match could end on the 14th or 15th hole without getting to 18. This format will have two sessions on Friday and two sessions on Saturday. And then on Sunday, all 12 players will play in what are known as singles matches 1v1, same format where they will play their own ball until we have a team as a winner. This is one of the most exciting events on the golf calendar every 2 years, and I'm excited that it comes back to Bethpage Black, which is an exciting course, but a tough course, and will really test the players' merits. And I'm looking forward for all of you to experience it, either as an avid viewer who have been and seen multiple Ryder Cups, or if you're experiencing it for the first time. This is going to be so much fun. Now we're going to head to our wackiest of the week, and we're going to head no further than the NFL as the Eagles and Rams had an exciting game this past Sunday with an exciting ending that really nobody can believe. The Eagles were up one on defense, though, and the Rams were driving down the field and had put themselves in a position for a game winning field goal that could turn this whole season around and give the Eagles their first loss of the year. But that's when the Eagles' defense stiffened up and blocked the field goal to secure a victory for the team to remain undefeated and still one of the best teams in the league just a few months removed from their Super Bowl win against the Kansas City Chiefs. But while cheesesteaks were flying and beer was swirling and fans were jumping up and down with excitement, big Jalen Carter had recovered that blocked field goal and decided, I'm going to have a little bit of fun. The big man then scooped up the blocked field goal and ran the entire length of the field the other way to score a touchdown to put the Eagles' win above a certain threshold than it already would have been if they had just recovered the kick. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, he decided to score. It just made the score a little bit bigger than it really necessarily entailed. The lead was just a little bit bigger than necessarily could have been or told the story of the game. What's the big deal about that? Well, what you might not know is that coming into the game, the spread or the amount of difference a team might win by was plus 3.5 to the Rams. So if the Rams won their game outright or lost under 3 points, they would have covered. So when the Eagles blocked the field goal, everybody, including people who had backed the Rams on the coverage or the Eagles even to win, were like, oh my God, we're going to cover. But then they all watched in horror as Jalen Carter brought it back for a touchdown that took the number and margin of victory over the spread and cost some people some pretty big money. I think this taught me a very valuable lesson, taught a lot of people a lot of very valuable lesson. Be careful when you bet because you never know what crazy shenanigans might unfold. That's all the time we have for today on the Game Time Voice Report. I want to thank you guys for joining me here and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any new Game Time Voice Reports coming out. I have been your host, Mike Walsh. I thank you for joining me here, and I will see you next time on the Game Time Voice Report here on the Game Time Voice YouTube channel. And make sure to remember, Game Time Voice, as always, is the voice of the common sports fan.